Hi everyone! So we're going to continue in our troubleshooting series today, and then we're going to be looking at right now is just to where to find some actually useful information regarding the firmware and the hardware that we currently have. And that we're actually assuming that we can actually flash something to our BlueMicro. So what we're going to do now is actually go into the program here, and I've just got a plain. I'll just make this a little bit smaller actually. We've got the plain Arduino IDE just loaded up, and just as usual I've got my Nordic, like the PCA 10056 as the board that I use. But I could use like any other ones, like for example the Express there, for that specific one. But I think I'm going to be sticking, because that's what I usually recommend, sticking with the Nordic NR52840 DK. And what we're going to be looking at is specifically firmware information and how to get it. So let's go into the examples, and in the examples there's some very useful hardware information, but there's actually a couple of things that we're going to be looking at. One is the firmware info, one is called the hardware info, and there's memory info, which typically is not very interesting. But let's go for the hardware info first, and this opens up this program here. So let's just go and compile it and flash it to our BlueMicro here. So I'm just going to load it up, connect it, and then do a reset so that we can flash it. And just as usual, for this one we actually get this there. Then we go tools, we are on COM3, okay. And then I'm going to go and flash this. And obviously it's going to be doing a compilation. And it's going to be doing the upload. Now if you see very carefully in this program, we're getting some information, some hardware information, like the address of it, the unique device ID, what kind of hardware we're looking at, and then some memory and the flash size and so on. So it's actually some really basic information. So it's been programmed, so let's just unplug and replug it just to make sure that we're set. Now let's go and see the port is now COM4. So we're going to go there, and we're going to go into the serial monitor, and the serial monitor just popped out on my other screen. So you can see here it came up with this information. So now I see this, I know that the chip is a 52840 with this amount of flash, this amount of RAM, and the device ID and the MAC address. So this is information that's unique to the chip inside the module. So if we ever want to know what chip we actually are running, well, here's some information on the hardware. Now the other one that I want to show you is, again in the examples, as we're going to go into, again, the library hardware. Now let's go to the firmware information. So firmware information loads a different file, and now this one, it looks even simpler, but it actually just calls a function. So we're just going to go and flash this. So just as usual, we're going to go do our double reset, go into COM port 3 and upload it. And as you can see, what it's doing on the program is going to be waiting for us to do our serial connection. That's what the while not serial delay is, just like waiting for that connection. And whatever it's done, it's going to just like printing the debug information and just stay there. So COM port 4, then we're going to go serial monitor, and it went to the other screen. Okay, so now we actually see here's the BSP library, the bootloader, and then the serial number. And I guess on the video we can actually compare if it's the same serial number or not. But at least now we actually know which library we're actually using, which version of a library and bootloader. So that's an extra piece of information that we'll need to know for like any support that we may have to do. Because the library gets updated on regular occasions, but sometimes not. And where we actually do the update is when we go to that board manager. We do so it's re-uploading or re-downloading the index, and then I go NRF52, and then we see the Adafruit, and the latest is 20.1, but then you can actually go and look, like download like pretty far back in time as well. But we always use the latest version. Like right now, as I'm recording this in June 2020, it's 20.1. which is what we had lined up on there. Are there any other pieces of information that we could go and get as examples here? So let's go hardware, timer, scheduler, mem info, it could be one. And then DFU, blink sleep. Okay, so we're going to go for the mem info, so that's another one here. So again, very similar information here. So we're just going to go and to our reset and go and COM3 and flash it. Okay, so now we go to our COM4 and then serial monitor, and then just went to the other one. So you see here, it's actually giving us some information regarding like memory usage on the chip. Let me just go back to that little pop-up there. Memory usage on the chip over time. So it's not very like super useful information. Maybe if there's like specific areas that we want to go into. So these are the different tasks for the real-time operating system. So this is the loop, like the main loop. The idle task appears to be there is a USB and then some callbacks, and then there's a timer service. So there's a few things in here that are kind of coming in, and the different priorities and how much stack there is for each. So I don't know all the details of how all of that work and what it all means. There's ranges for the different stack address, and maybe that's the SoftDevice at the bottom, which looks to be taking a lot of space, which is not unusual. And BSS, I'm not too sure what that is. So so that's the memory one. This one is not as useful as the other two as far as information for support. And then when we go to the other examples that we have available here, we've got nothing else really that would provide additional information. Now, if we go to the Arduino ID here, there's actually another piece, is the get board info. So right here we see the again the VID and the PID. That's a useful USB connection information that is useful. And then when we do a double reset, we may actually have a different one. So let's just see, get board info, and where did that pop-up go? Okay, I gotta go port COM3 and get board info, and then I've got I'm not too sure if the same numbers or not, but I've got again information here. Okay, because one is actually from the bootloader and the other one is from the firmware. Okay, I think I'm going to cover quite a few things here today. There's actually something else I'm going to cover, but I'll do it in a separate video. This is really focused about getting information about the hardware that you actually are using just by pulling information from the board itself. There might be some other pieces that we could probably look at if we go and dive into deep into the documentation of the chip. But as far as what's provided, as far as examples as part of the libraries, and the most useful information that we'll be able to get is really what is the current BSP or board support package that's being used. That's it for today. I'm going to be stopping right now. Next time around, what we're going to be doing is just to test some very, very basic functionality to go as simple as making maybe those couple of LEDs flash, just to validate that you've got the right configuration from your chip. So we'll go into that into the next video. Okay, thanks. I'll see you next time.